Hello students, once again I am here with the new video, and this time I am going to deal with unit 2.3, which deals with the conservative regimes and conservatism. It is important to understand in this context that the success of liberalism and Napoleonic reforms threatened the European rulers at that point of time, and therefore they collectively decided to defeat Napoleon, and all of them together had a battle against Napoleon, in which Napoleon was finally defeated at a place called Waterloo in 1815. This is popularly known as the Battle of Waterloo. And this marked the beginning of a new era with the new ideology in the European history, which is popularly known as New Conservatism. So before we get into the features of new regimes, let's understand what is conservatism. So conservatism is a philosophy that stresses religion, traditional institutions, culture, religious dominations of conservative class like pandit, maulvi, and the religious institutions over the society. So this is one perspective from which we have look at conservatism in order to understand what does it mean, and this is cultural perspective. The second perspective from which we look at conservatism is economic. So economically, the ideology of liberalism believes in gradual development of the society and therefore not a quick change, since they wanted everything should move in a controlled manner and the way they want to take the society forward, in which the domination of the conservative people, conservative order, conservative sections should continue to be maintained. This is very important to understand. So therefore at the end we can say that conservatism refers to the domination and maintenance of the conservative institutions, conservative members of the society, domination of religion, etc. Now let's move to the next point. What did conservative wants with regard to the politics? Here it is important to note that they did not want to go back to the pre-revolutionary days. Here the revolution that I am referring is the French Revolution of 1789. And secondly, this is also important to keep in mind that they wanted to continue with the changed situation in the society, because as the traditional institutions like monarchical systems and the state power turned out to be more stronger and effective for them. Why did it happen? Why did it become more stronger and more effective? The reason lies in the Napoleonic reforms. So you have to look at the reforms carried out by Napoleon, which I have dealt with in previous video where we have discussed the 1804 reforms of Napoleon. However, I am going to that highlight certain important features of those reforms. So what did Napoleon do? Napoleon modernized army, developed efficient bureaucracy, a dynamic economy, abolished feudalism and serfdom. These developments, or rather reforms, strengthen the hands and control of autocratic monarchy or conservative regimes over the society. Thus, they felt confident and they did not want to go back to the pre-revolutionary days. I hope that with this you will be able to understand, and not only understand but also clearly understand and develop the concept on what is conservatism and why did conservative regimes not want to go back to the pre-revolutionary era. Now we are moving to the next important developments. Remember that the purpose of coming together of the rulers of Britain, Austria, then Russia, Prussia, etc., was to not only defeat Napoleon but also establish a system in which their domination should continue despite certain reforms brought or introduced by Napoleon. So they met, all these powers met at Vienna, and they had a treaty there that is famously known as the Treaty of Vienna, and through that treaty they tried to undo what Napoleon had done after the French Revolution, when he seized that power and started expanding French territory, and side by side introducing various reforms inspired from the ideals of French revolutions. However, he did not allow complete freedom to the people. So at Vienna, Austria, Britain, Prussia, and Russia, they drew up a settlement for protecting conservative institutions and monarchical system. Now we are moving to the next point, that is objective. They wanted undoing of most of the changes that had taken place during the Napoleonic Wars. Napoleonic Wars means the period in which Napoleon stayed in power, and during which he actually fought too many wars. Thus he expanded the boundary of French territory up to that almost all the major parts of Europe. So they wanted to undo that. Since they are going to undo it, therefore they are going to restoring the old territorial structure, and they are going to surround France from all sides, so that France and the French Revolution idea should not expand in future. And thus they started the restoration process. In this process, Bourbon dynasty restored to power in France. European territories won by Napoleon, taken from France and given back to the rulers who had lost it to Napoleon. So this is one of the important developments post Vienna Treaty. Second developments, the prevention of French expansion and ideas through following measures. So what were the measures? A series of states were set up on the boundaries of France in all directions to prevent its future expansion, such as Netherlands on northern sides, Genoa added to the Piedmont in the west. Prussia was given an important new territories in the western frontiers. However, German Confederation was left untouched. So these are the developments which took place. Apart from that, part of the Poland was given to the Russia in the east. So what you see from all the direction, from the top to the bottom, the French territory was surrounded by a series of smaller kingdoms. So the purpose was two. The one, that territorial expansion of France should not happen in future, and secondly, the French revolutionary idea should not spread. I must emphasize, you can prevent a person, but you cannot prevent an idea if the idea is very good, if the idea is for the development and the benefit of human society. Remember, the ideas generated by the French Revolution and during the French Revolution were such which could not be prevented, and at the end the idea spreads despite these attempts made by the conservative regimes. However, through these developments, they actually wanted to create a new world order. The world order that will be controlled and will be as per the desire of the new regimes. The same thing which happened after the disintegration of USSR in 1991, the same thing which Trump at present trying to create in the world through tariff diplomacy and politics. Now we are moving to the next important development. So now the regimes were established, which is new conservative regime. The main features of this regime are non-tolerance of criticism and dissent. They did not accept criticism and dissent. As you see, the government these days doesn't accept the same. Second, they curbed activities that questioned the legitimacy of the conservative order and autocratic regimes. So, you know that anyone questioning the king and his system and his way of functioning was not tolerated. They imposed censorship laws to control newspapers, books, plays, songs, etc., that encouraged the idea of liberty, freedom, and other values of the French Revolution. We have identified three main features of the conservatism. Now we are going to discuss the limitations with it. So there are two major ideas in the limitations. In limitations. So despite these, memories of the French revolutions continue to inspire the people and the liberals in general, especially because, as I said earlier, if the ideas are powerful, they are going to inspire the people. So this is what happened here. Secondly, they criticized conservative order and demanded freedom of the press. So these are the basically 5 important points associated with the conservative regimes which came to be established after the Vienna Congress. That's all for this unit.